I'm going to start in Illustrator first, and I'm going to make myself a logo for my. So let's assume I've gone through and I've done all the pieces for my proposal. Right? I got my layout. I got some screen captures. I have some text I've typed all up inside of Word. So you've probably already started in Word. I've been asking you to type all this stuff up. So now you want to go and make a nice layout for your proposal. A great program to do that, of course, would be Indesign. In this case, Indesign is a great application to do these things. And next semester we'll even have the newer version, that computer in the back. That's what I've been testing on. We have a newer version on that, number 30 there. So that'll be the new image for the spring semester, and hopefully it'll have all the digital stuff in there so we can go through and make sure that the digital information is all on there. Because what I would love for you to do if you go through the portfolio class next semester with Gene, I would love for you to have an EPUB. I mean, what a great way, the interactivity to display your artwork. Can you imagine emailing that to a company and saying, here's my EPUB and this is my portfolio, oh, an EPUB? Web page is old. EPUB, much more interactive. Layout will be the same. You're not dealing with HTML. I mean, the advantage of the EPUB is, it's going to look the way you want it to look. You try and make a website. The downfall of a website, you're dealing with the HTML. Things are going to change. Browser to browser. Remember our discussion last week? Hey, browser. It's like, painful. Where, you make yourself a nice EPUB and, can have interactivity and you can have people, it's just a great way to go is what I'm trying to say. So, I quickly made myself a new logo. Here it is. Look at that. My 5-second logo, right? So all I did was, of course, it opened up a file inside of Illustrator, typed in my name. So you should have at least some kind of logo for your project. You should be, something that different. It could be just your name in a nice font, right? But for your proposal, you should have some kind of name. Your name, business name. I've had students come up with all kinds of, cool names for their businesses. Mine is just plain old Raskoff Media, right? I chose a nice crazy font for this. I downloaded some DA font things, and you can see them on here. I don't know which ones I downloaded. So all I did was, made myself a nice logo. Ooh, look at that one. Oof, that's horrible. Horrible. I wanted some kind of brushy font. Ooh, that's even worse. Guess no brushy font. Ooh, look at that one. Love that. How about some aliens? There we go. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is you should have a nice little logo for yourself if you can. Okay? So if you do make a logo for yourself in Illustrator, I would recommend saving an Illustrator file. Right? I would save an Illustrator file. And you could kind of make it a working file, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Then what I would do, so let's say you're working on a logo and you have several different ideas, you could do that. Then what I would do is find the idea that I do like. Let's say I like this Raskoff Media right here. This is the one I like. So I might save one as a working file with a whole bunch of different ideas. Hey, good one, good one. Maybe show my sister, brother, aunt, uncle, mother, father, whatever. Hey, what do you guys think is a good logo for me? If they choose one and you guys say, hey, this one right here is better than aliens, what I might do is create outlines by using the type create outlines. Right now I've already done it. Select it, go under type create outlines. What that does is it converts your fonts and your objects in there to objects, right? So that way it's no longer having to deal with the font that is on the computer. It's converted it to an object. And by doing that, then I don't have to worry about fonts anymore. My logo's vector, it's already there. Once it's vector, I can scale it as big as I want and make it as small as I want. But again, if I want to go back and change it, it's easier to go back and change the original working file. That's why I said, hey, save the one that has all your ideas in it as an Illustrator file, and then find the one you like, and let's save that as a separate file that I'll use inside of InDesign. So I'm going to take this one. Hey, this is the one I like. What I'm going to do, again, I create outlines, then I copy it, Command-C, and I'm going to put it into a new document. So I'm going to say copy, hit OK, new document, and then paste. Now, when I bring stuff into InDesign or other applications from Illustrator, one of the downfalls sometimes you run into is it might take all the white space, right? It might take all the white space. So if you're designing things inside of Illustrator and you want to get rid of all the white space and you want to take the artboard, and the white space is called an artboard, shrink it down to the size of your artwork so you save just the artwork without all the white space around it. The way to do that is under Object. So notice how I have my logo that I just copied, made a new document, and pasted. I want to get rid of all the white stuff around the outside. To do that, I go underneath Object, Artboard, Fit to Selected Art. So what that'll do is it'll shrink the white area down to the size, and then now I'm going to save it as an Illustrator file, and it'll save just that, and then I'll import it into InDesign, or I can import it into Photoshop, or I can import it into something else without all the extra white space, right? Again, the option to do that, Object, Artboards, Fit to Selected Art. Boom, there's my logo. My artboard has been shrunk down, and now I can just save that. I'm going to save it as Illustrator. Illustrator works great right inside of InDesign. So I might call it Final Logo, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to hit Save. And leave all the default settings. One thing you might run into problems is if you turn off Create PDF Compatible File. I've tried turning that off before and then tried using it in another applications, and it gives you problems. So I tend to just use the default. Don't worry about the ICC profile. Most likely it's going to be the default profile. So everybody got that? How to make your own? I don't know. Just make yourself a nice logo for your presentation. It could be your handwriting or something. I don't know. I just did it quickly. Okay, again, I'm going to use InDesign. InDesign is located. I'm going to quit InDesign for now, and we'll start from scratch. I'm going to start from scratch. Let me quit Illustrator too. So again, I made a nice logo in Illustrator. I saved that. Next, I'm going to go and start InDesign. InDesign, if you don't see it in your dock, is going to be located under Macintosh hard drive, Applications. Again, there's a whole bunch of Adobe products. We didn't talk about all of them, but there's a variety of ones that can do all kinds of things for you. I would say, the most important ones to really learn is the InDesign. The Muse is good, Photoshop, and of course Illustrator. If none other than I love Illustrator. How about that? So you can start InDesign. The version we're using here is called CC 2014 release. Again, next semester we're going to have the newer version, which is on that number 30 back there. So if you want to look at the newer version, you can go back to number 30 in this room and see the newer version. They changed this application a lot because of the way e-publishing changes. There's all kinds of new ways of distributing your information, interactive PDFs. Of course, Adobe makes PDFs, so they evolve it and change it more, I think, more than other applications, right? They evolve and change this a lot more. They also give you a lot of information about how to use it. They got a lot of tutorials and tips and tricks and things like that. There's a lot of books. I think they support InDesign a lot more than other applications I think Adobe does. And the reason why is that, they spent a lot of time and effort trying to steal the market away from Quark Express. Because back in the early days of publishing, in the 1990s and early 2000, there were, most people, if they were going to publish a book, hey, I'm going to make a book, you would use a program called Quark Express. And Quark Express was, they were a company in Colorado, actually, was their headquarters, I believe. And they were the publishing company. They were number one, And so Adobe, when they started InDesign, It was really clunky, and people didn't automatically go to it right away. And I remember in 2003, 2004, people were still using Quark Express. And then finally, they started integrating all the Adobe products to work really well with InDesign. And then they finally started getting the publishers to start using InDesign, the people that would print. And of course, we went from using printing presses now to digital publishing. Nobody uses a printing press anymore. Everything's digital published. And a lot of that had to do with InDesign and how InDesign has been used. And so they've kind of now cornered the market. And so now that we're the king, InDesign's the king, what more can we do? Make it for your iPad, make it for web page. You can export out of InDesign as a web page too. You can export out of InDesign as a flash file. You can do export out of InDesign as an interactive PDF. And all kinds of things like that. So it's a very universal kind of program. I'm going to close this window here. So in this case, let me close this too. The program works by making a new file. If you go under File, New, just like any other of those, you got Document, you got Book, and you got Library. And in the older versions, they used to have one called a folio. I don't know why the folio is not here. At least the versions I was using, they had a folio. The folio was the interactive one, but I think now you can just make it interactive in the document one. You don't have to do a folio. And so, and I'm not sure what the difference between document and book. Maybe book means ebook, document, I'm sure, and library. I'm not really sure. It's been a while since I've gone through all those. Let me see. Book doesn't do anything new. Document has more information. So hey, let's go to document. So in a document window, the new document window, there's a variety of different options inside there. Okay. The first option is document presets. There's nothing there. The intent is important. If you look at the intent, you'll see it says print, web, or digital publishing. In this case, you kind of decide, am I going to go to a published material, just like I said, like a book or some kind of printed material? Am I going to go for a web page, okay, or a web delivery? Or am I going to go for the e-publishing, like the things that we just saw, the e-publishing? And the reason why they give you these different options is, it's going to have some different characteristics, especially with the digital publishing, the rotation and things like that. So if you click on that, you'll see it changes. You got your default. You want an iPhone, iPad, Kindle Nook, Android 10. And these are just custom kind of starting points, because you can take this and take the same publishing and deliver it for Android, or the new iPad, I guess is what the iPad Pro is going to be bigger too. So they give you some presets just like you would inside of Photoshop presets, and again they give you dimensions, right? The iPhone 480 by 320 is just like, that's the ancient iPad, or no, the ancient iPhone, right? That's like iPhone 1. I don't know why they're giving me, if I choose iPhone, they're giving me 480 by 320. I mean, geez, the iPhone 6 is 1280 by something, right? So I'm not sure. I guess what I'm trying to say is why these presets are like this. I'm not really sure. But I'm just going to go back to publishing. I'm going to print because we're taking what we did in this class, right? We have it in Word, and we want to customize it to a beautiful proposal that's going to get me a job. So I'm going to use print. And the first option you have here is facing pages. Okay, so what facing pages is your publisher going to have a two-page like this? This is facing page. You have one page here and one page there. Facing. You don't want that, which I don't want right this moment. I'm going to turn that off because I want everybody to have one page, and as they read my proposal, they're going to scroll down, right? Digital scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. I don't want them to have to see two. And if you want, you can have them see 2 pages like that. The downfall of that, though, is it takes up more screen real estate. So if somebody's reading my proposal on a computer, if you're going with a 2-page layout and they're looking on a small screen, they're trying to squeeze this on there, right? And in fact, you don't have to be limited by this layout. If you look at some of the proposals that my students did last spring semester, some of them did it this way. Even though it was 1 page, they actually did it this way, right? Not like this, like this. The Wikipedia one, right, is more like this. So you can change the orientation like that. I don't know. Actually, I think she did it more of putting it in. I'm not really sure how she did that. But I'm just pointing out, I'm going to turn off facing pages. Do I need to designate how many pages are up front? No. I'm going to leave it at 1, okay? Just 1 page. You can just add more as you are working. Add a new page, add a new page. So you don't have to designate this. Again, one of the orientations is the measurement. They have these not pixels, but pica measurement. Oh, you know, and it's just like, what the hell is a pica? Oh, do you see this thing right here? The P-O, do you see that right there? And it's like, oh, what is that? I don't know. I know inches, or I know centimeters. I know most of the people in the world grew up with centimeters. My wife came to this country. She's like, I don't understand these inches. Where do these inches come from? So, you know, most of the world. So if you understand centimeters, you can put them in there too. Okay. Where can I do that? Is underneath the preferences. Of course, you can't do it while this window's open, but you can go through and in the units and increments right there, you can change it to inches, and then when you get to this window, it'll be inches in there. I didn't do that ahead of time, but I'm just pointing it out. You can actually go and change that before you even get to this window and put the inches or put centimeters in there. It's under units and increments right here. And then when you get to this window, you can say, hey, yeah. By default, it's going to be 8.5 by 11. This is 8.5 by 11. You can actually type in what you want in inches, and it'll convert it for you. So let's just say I wanted it to do not 8.5 by 11, but 8 by 10. I can actually put in 8 inches in there, and when I hit tab on the keyboard, it'll actually convert it to whatever that measurement is. Did you see that? It converted it to 48. So if I wanted 8 by 10 inches, if you put in 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 any of these boxes and you hit tab, don't hit return because sometimes it thinks you're going to hit OK. If you hit tab on there, notice how it automatically changed it to the new measurement that you had in there. So you can actually type in what you want and it'll convert it for you. It's smart. Maybe it's smart. I don't know. But I did want the default. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to default. I'm going to do 8.5 by 11 because that's what my printer prints out. And I'm going to print this out for somebody. Hey, I'm going to do 8.5 by 11. But I'm just pointing out you could do different. Columns I'm going to leave by default. And gutter I'm going to leave by default. Again, this is going to make what the default setting does is if I have my marker. Oh, here we go. You can adjust this later is what I'm trying to say. What it's going to give you is an 8.5 by 11 document with one kind of like this. And this column is one big column. Now there's a little edge in here because InDesign knows that if you send something to the laser printer, you need a little bit of edge. It's not going to go all the way to the edge to bleed something. So it gives you one big column. Now you could, if you wanted to, say 2 columns if you wanted to here, or 3 columns and so on. You can change that later. In fact, I'm going to change that later in my master. So I'm going to make a document, what's called a master, and in that master I'll make my other pages from, and I can adjust the columns and gutters. The gutter is the space between the column, so when you're looking at that, this is called a gutter, right? Like in your house, the water flows down a big little thing on the side of your house, out into the street, hopefully, not under your house. It's called a gutter. Okay, so that's where the word gutter comes from. Here. Then they have margins. Like I said, it's going to be the space around the outside. I believe it's by default, it's like a 1/4 inch. Whatever 3 PO is, or P0. I think it's a 1/4 inch. And then they do have some bleed and slug. Let's not worry about that right now. That's if you want to go all the way to the edge. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. If you want, you can hit preview and it'll show you what it looks like before you hit OK, and you can move your window around and say, hey, is that what I want it to look like? For now we do. I'm just going to leave default right there. Boom. Okay. So there we are with our plain blank document in InDesign. You're like, what do I do now? Okay, well the first thing you want to do is bring up the Pages window. If you don't see Pages, it's under Window, Pages. Okay, the Pages window is the window that will drive everything. Okay, if I can pull it away here, drive everything. So think about it as a flow chart, right? A flow chart, and you'll see these little thumbnails right here. Here's a little thumbnail. So this is page 1. Okay, there's a master, as you can see it, and then there's a none. So if you want to set a page up So the way you want it to look with your logo at the top, page number at the bottom, gutter and columns the way you want them, and you want all the pages to kind of format and follow that, you would then go and click on the master and make your page look like that. So we're going to go and click on the master. Then when you make new pages, you can tell it, hey, make a new page from the master. And the new page will then take all the characteristics of the master and put it in there. Okay, now, by default though, there's some downfalls of the master. One of them is you can't really change the text inside the master. So you can make a location for it, for the text. But if you type in some text and then you adjust it later, it'll, yeah, there's some problems. We'll get to that at that point. But you don't have to follow the master all the time. Like my first page of my proposal is going to be different than the rest of them, right? Because it's my first page. It's going to have my logo and it's saying, you know, web design proposal for Ugly Tub, you know. And then it might have, you know, the date on there, and so it's going to be a cover page, which would be different than the rest of the pages. So you don't have to follow the master. You can make it a different one. Again, you'll notice it's 8.5 by 11. If you don't want to use, again, these measuring that it's talking about, right now, you know, it has this measuring up here. If you want a different measuring system, you can go underneath the preferences, under InDesign preferences, and underneath units and increments right here. You can actually adjust from the picas. Picas, okay, picas. You're like, what is a pica? Picas comes from an older measuring system for publishing, and I think it was a 6, or what is it? I used to know how to calculate picas to points. I used to know that. I used to have a ruler that would calculate it for you. I don't remember. Let's just go to inches. I know that. Inches. So again, I'm going to cheat and go to inches. Inches, right where it says horizontal and vertical. And if you hit OK, you'll notice now this is the ruler is in inches now, 8.5 by 11. The other thing that's nice is when you start drawing and making things, it'll then put inches up there. If I'm going to, hey, this is my photo and I want it to be, you know, 2 by 4 inches. When you draw a box for the photo, it'll make it 2 by 4. The increments will come through. Okay, let's get to the master page. If you double click on the master page, I believe is how you change the master page. Yeah, master A right here. So again, in the pages window, I'm going to double click on the master page. Here, see, in the pages window, double click on the master page. It should automatically take me to the master page. So let's talk about some of my layout here. For my master page, I'm going to have maybe a little color box at the top. So let's look at the tools over here inside of InDesign so we can see how these tools can be used. In this case, you have, of course, selection tools like you have on most programs. Then you have a page tool, a gap tool, a content collector tool, a type tool, a line tool, a pen tool, a pencil tool, a rectangle frame tool, a rectangle tool, scissor tool, free transform tool, gradient tool, gradient feather tool, note, color theme tool, hand, and zoom. And so you have a lot of tools. Yes?
What's the master page?
That's where you make the layout that you want all your pages to follow. Do you remember when we were looking at the Huffington Post app on my thing, and I said, look at the article and how it has a title in one size, then it has the subtitle, then it has the author, and then it has the article. And each one follows that same format because they have a master layout, and then all the articles follow that master layout. So what the master is here is I'm going to make a layout, and I'm going to have all the rest of my document kind of follow that layout. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, so the master is going to be how you want your pages to look. You know, do you want a footer? Do you want a header? Do you want color? So on. So here we go. So I'm going to make a master page. To do that, again, I'm going to use some of the simple tools. I might want to have a nice little gradient across the top of my document. Let's make a nice little gradient, or colored area. How about that? A nice little color area that goes across the top of my pages. I'm going to go to where it says the rectangle tool, not this one with the X in it. This frame tool is used to put a picture in. So if you want to build, if you think about it, remember when you were making your digital wireframe, right? When you were making your digital wireframe, and you made a little box, and you might have an X in there, and oh, my photo's going to go in there. Well, it's the same thing here. If you use this box right here that has a little X in there, and you put it on your screen, you can then go and import a photo into that box with the X. Okay, so the solid one gives you solid color. So if you want to make a solid color area, like I'm going to have a blue bar that goes across the top of my master page, I can use a solid rectangle. If I'm going to have a photo, I use this one with the X in it. Okay, so these are common ways of bringing things in, common ways. Solid color, photo image, or some other image you can put in there. Again, then you have gradient tools, and you know, they've really added a lot of things to this program over the past couple of years, and there's a lot of pop-up windows. I remember the first time I was using Indesign, it was around 2001. You know, they had only like 5 or 6 tools over there. I know there's no big one list like that. You know, so it's really expanded. So I'm just going to make a little colored area over there. When you choose a rectangle tool, you'll notice you have options at the top up here. Options at the top. Again, you have the color swatches over here. Color, color, color. You see it in multiple places. So whenever you choose a tool, you know, they might have some options across the top. I'm going to use the rectangle tool. And if you want to give it a color, is this one right here. Notice when you're choosing colors, it's going to give you more of a CMYK color scheme because we're using publishing. But if you want to get to the color wheel, you can actually click on the little X or the little square with the line going through it, and it'll give you the color wheel with the different view here. Once you choose a color that you like, you can say add CMYK swatch and then hit OK. Doing that will add it to the swatches window. If you want to see the swatches window, you can bring up swatches here, and notice it just added that color to my swatch so that I can go back and use that color again later. Okay, again, let's look at how I did that. As you're using this program and you're choosing colors to add to your document, just like I did here, I want to use the color wheel. We're used to the color wheel in Photoshop. We're used to the color wheel inside of Illustrator. If I click on the little square up here, it'll give me the color picker. If I choose a color I want to use, oh, I love this purple, pink, whatever, it looks pink on my screen, purple there, and you say, hey, I want to save that and use that later. If you say add to CMYK swatches, it'll make it easier for you later because it'll be in your pop-up window right here. It's almost like using swatches inside of Illustrator, right? We've learned how to use swatches in Illustrator where you save a swatch, a color swatch. So once you choose the color you want, we can draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw it across the top. And so at the top of each one of my documents, I'm going to have a colored area up there. In addition to my color area, then I'm going to go and bring my logo in, right? So my logo is going to be at the top of every one of my pages. Every one of my pages. So you remember the logo I made inside of Illustrator? So I'm going to bring that in. Couple ways you can bring it in. You don't necessarily have to make a box. Remember I said, hey, let's make a box. We can make a box and put a photo in. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can just import your logo in. I can go underneath File, Place. File, Place. Just like in Illustrator, to bring something into the Illustrator program, you use File, Place. To bring it into InDesign, you can use File, Place. So if I use File, Place, I can go find my final logo. Remember my logo that I made? And I can place that in, and here it is. You can draw a box on how big you want it to be. You can draw a box. Now, I'm going to zoom in. To zoom in, you can use Command plus, and I'm going to put it up here in the corner. I'm not going to put it all the way to the edge, right, because I'm going to print this, right? So I might put it inside my area here, and I'm just going to put it in. If you hold down the, it should stay in proportion. You don't have to hold down the Shift key. And then put my logo in there. And don't worry about when you're working inside of InDesign. One of the things that you're going to notice when you're working in InDesign is you're going to look at your artwork and it's going to look rough like this. You see that? You're like, oh my, that looks horrible. Look at the pixelization. We use the word pixelization to describe that. Okay, what InDesign does is it uses a lower resolution of a graphic while you're working so that the program doesn't have to slow down. Because think about it, you use this program to make a big book like this, right? If you were using high resolution graphics throughout as you're working, think of how much RAM that would take, right? So how the program works is it uses a lower resolution graphic to display while you're working. And then, of course, if you were going to publish it or print it out on a laser printer, right, it would still be PostScript and nice and clean because this is a vector, right? We made it in Illustrator. If you want to see it at its full resolution, you can right-click on it and then say high res or something like that. Hold on. If you want to see it like it should look, you can right-click on it and say display performance and say high quality display. So if you right-click on it, you can say display performance, high quality display, and if you click on that, you'll notice, oh, now it's beautiful. It's not all blocky and ugly. It's up to you. I'm just pointing out that's a common thing that people say, hey, it looks all yucky and bluggy. It's not the program, it's just the way it's displaying it. It's a common thing. Okay, let's zoom out. So I have my logo at the top of every page for my subpages. At the bottom, let's make a little footer. I don't really want to have the color at the bottom, but what I want to do is I want to have the page number, and as I make new pages, it says page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and so on and so on. So I'm gonna use the text tool. You'll notice there is a type tool that is over in the toolbar, and I'm going to go down here, and to make type on the screen, I'm going to click and drag with the type tool. It's going to make a type box. So I'm going to, again, there's a type tool right here. Type tool. They even have type on a path. Type tool. And down towards the bottom, I'm going to click and drag. And I'm going to type in the word page like that. And then, of course, if you want, you can right align that. So I'm going to actually right align that before I do anything else like that. And the reason why is because you're going to have page 1, page 2, page 3, and then when you get up to 10, you might move it over a little bit. I don't know. I just right aligned it. So I put the word page in. That was it. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go now and tell InDesign to put the number in automatically. Right? You want automatic page numbering. To do the automatic page numbering is, at least hopefully they haven't changed it. It's underneath the object. Let me see if I can remember. No, it's under type. There's I'm close. Bullets and numbering. There it is. Apply bullets, apply numbers. Insert special character. Other. I'm sure they're going to move it. Current page number, next page number, previous page number, selection marker, footnote number, bullet character, paragraph section, trademark symbol, bulleted and numbered list. No, I don't want that. Text variable, define. Last page number, chapter number, creation date. I think it's under special character. It used to be under here. Hold on. Current page number. Maybe that's the one. Next page number. Previous page number. Markers. It's got to be one of these options in here. Yeah, I think that's it. Current page number. I think it's object, or no, it's under type. markers, current page number. I think that's the right one. So it puts an A in there right now because it's a master. But when you make a new page, it should automatically put the page number in there, whatever new page you're making. And then there's a way to make a document that doesn't have the first page. Yeah. I think that's the right one. Insert special character. A. So that I have my page number. And then I'm going to make a box up here for my for the title of the section, like, right, I'm going to have overview, I'm going to have research, I'm going to have, all those things for my project, right? So I'm going to have, each page is going to have its own kind of title. So I'm going to draw a box at the top for that. So I'm just using the text tool again. I'm going to draw a box at the top. Now, I'm not going to type in, I'm going to type in a sample for right now, and I'm going to remove it. So let's say overview. Now, of course, it's kind of small. And boy, my logo is pretty big, isn't it? Probably make that smaller. But whatever. So I'm going to change in, I guess it doesn't matter how it's spelled. Overview. There it is. So I'm going to take my font and I'm going to change it to whatever size, what font I want. There we go. And what size I want. Ooh, that's pretty ugly. Let me choose a nice font. Ooh, look at that one with little dots in it and everything. Okay, we'll make it ugly. And then, of course, you got a color if you want. Remember the pink I chose before? There we go, pink. There we go. Overview. And if you want to have a line underneath it, you can actually draw. There's a line tool right here. See the line tool right there? There's a line tool. I'm going to draw a little line underneath there. Just to add some graphics. I'm going to put it down a little bit further. So overview, and then what else are we going to have? So I'm going to make a box for content, right? Because I'm going to have a bunch of text in there for my overview. And if you want to have a box for text. Now I'm not going to use, again, we only have one column, right? We have one column. So in this column, we have one column right now. I can use the text tool and kind of just draw a box of text. And once I draw my box of text, I'm going to put some kind of yokel text in there. And so then you want to decide of how your text is going to look, what font it's going to be, what color it's going to be, and so on. And you're going to do this and define it in the box itself. So even though I put some jumbo-y text in there, there's some jumbo text in there, I'm going to use this text to give it a format. And let me hit return. And should we have subheads? I'm thinking of how. Let's not go there right now. Let's just do it like this. So what I'm trying to say is, do I want every time there's a new paragraph to have the font be indented? What is the line spacing? And so on. I'm going to define that up front now. And so some of the things that you would have, of course, if you were, if you ever looked at publishing and things like that, a lot of times the first paragraph is indented a little bit, right? You might want to adjust the line spacing, the font, color, and all that stuff. What you're going to do is you're going to define this box to have those characteristics. Then once these characteristics have been defined, then they'll be in the master, and then every time you make a new page, those characteristics then will go to the next page, and so on, and so on, and so on. Same with the title. See, it's pink with my line underneath it. Okay. I'm defining this again in the master, and so every time I make a new page, overview is pink with this size font. I go to make research. I say, hey, new page. Boom, I type in research. It's going to be pink in the same font. Boom, I copy my text from Word. I was typing up in Word, right? You can go to Word, copy, boom, paste it in there. It's going to take all the characteristics that way. Everything's the same throughout your proposal. You don't want to have, font one size under research and different underneath the overview and so on and so on. So that's the advantage of using something like this to make a master and make a layout, is that you can then go and do that. So let's look at some of the characteristics for my body copy here. If you bring up the, there's some options over here. There's some options all across the top up here. But you can also bring up the pop-up window that you might be used to, and that would be the paragraph option under type paragraph right here. You got character and you have paragraph. These pop-up windows are something that you're used to inside of Illustrator, right? So it might be easier to bring these up. Again, it's under type, tables. Character would define font and size and that. And then, of course, paragraph will designate things like the indent of the first line and stuff like that. So if I go to paragraph right here and character right here, I can define what font is this going to be here. So I might need to select it all. I'm going to select the entire box by using the the direct selection tool here. And then I can change my font to whatever I think is going to make a good readable font here. I don't know, there's a lot of different fonts in there. What would be a good font? What is this one? Whoosh. It's pretty ugly. I don't like that font. It's too big. Whoosh, that's pretty ugly too. Oh my gosh. We're going from bad to worst. Bad to worst. What is this one? This one's a little better. Okay, I'm going to go with this. I don't know what it is, but I'm going with it. Try and keep the font small. Don't use 14 or 15 point. That's whoosh, awful big when things are printed out. Well, maybe, how about 13? We'll compromise. And then I'm going to give it a lot of line spacing. I like to have spacing between there, so I'm going to give it more than that. Maybe go up to 16. It's 15 right now, maybe 17. This is line spacing. Invalid numeric number. Oh, didn't like that. How about we put 17? There we go. And then to indent the first paragraph is in the option here, down under the paragraph option. Under the paragraph option, there's indent features down here, and the one right here, it's kind of towards the bottom. It's called indent the first row. And oops, I'm going minus, wrong way. No, why am I going minus? There we go, plus. So again, this is a 0.125. This is a 1/4 inch, 0.25 right here. So again, this is the first paragraph indent if you want that, and so on. So again, this is kind of the way that I set my master up to have a big long paragraph. Does that mean I have to stay with this? No. No. What's that? I've been working on the master the whole time. Okay, so again, you'll notice in the pages window, see how it blew up there at the top? I'm working on a master. So I made a master page, but what I'm trying to say is... Is the master part of the content, or is this like a template? It's like a template, yes. So it's not the content. We have to actually remove the text from here. We look at it and say, hey, yeah, this looks great, but I'm not going to leave the word overview in there, because it's assuming if you put text into the master, that text is going on all the pages. Now, of course, this one is going to go on all the pages, right? But I just put text in there to see what it's going to look like, right? I'm going to actually delete all that. It's going to keep the formatting, though. That's what I'm trying to say. If we're putting text in these boxes to see what the formatting looks like, but before I'm done with the master, I'm going to delete this stuff. It'll keep the boxes so that when you make a new page, you just type it in. So let's see how to do that. So, and then I guess my whole point here is you're not stuck with this. If I make a new page from the master, I can adjust that. The box doesn't have to stay this big. I might make it smaller so I have some graphics next to it, right? Right? So this is just a template kind of thing. Once you make a new page from the master, you can adjust that new page to anything you want. It's just a starting point. Does that make sense? It's just a starting point. Let's go and make some new pages. So here, we have a master. This is the way it is. I'm going to remove some stuff. I don't leave that text in there. We're going to delete it. Delete the text. Again, we're going to delete the overview. But the boxes are still there, so that when you make a page, you're just going to type in the boxes. So I'm done with my master. It looks fabulous. I'm happy. Let's make a page. So I'm going to go over here. You're done with the masters. Notice in the pages window, you'll see how it says A master right here. I'm going to click down below in this big area down below. In fact, I'm going to click on number 1. My first page right here. Notice how it says page 1. See, I clicked on my first page right here. Notice how my page numbering says page 1 down there. Notice how I have my boxes here, right? What's that? Purple line. Which one? This line you mean right here? Yeah. That's part of the, remember when we originally made the first page and I said there was a 1/4 inch margin around the outside? So all the pages are going to have this purple line. Huh? The line that goes across the top? Which one? I put that in the master. It's a line that I put in the master. It's just a line I drew with the line tool. There's a line tool, so I drew the line in the master. So it's going to be on every page. That line that goes across is going to be on every page. So let's say my first page is going to be project overview. So I'm on my first page. Don't worry, we're going to make a cover page in a minute. So again, I'm on my master page. I can click on my... No, I can't put in there. Can I click on my box here? Can I click in this box? Can I type? It's not letting me type. Hold on. Oh, it doesn't like that, does it? Hold on, I have to think about this for a moment. Oh, maybe because it's in the master. Maybe I shouldn't have put the text in the master. Why not? I have to think about this for a moment. Let me pause my video. So yeah, I made a mistake. I probably shouldn't have this text boxes stuck inside the master because you can't edit the master. I didn't think about that. I thought these boxes could be editable, but they're not. So what I would do is I would go back to the master. Let me go back to the master. I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to cut them out. So selecting both of those boxes, I'm going to cut them out using Command X. Cut them out of the master. And I'm going to put them into my number 1 document. And when I paste it, you go under Edit, Paste in Place, and it'll put them right back in where they were in the master. Yeah, there they go. So yeah, I should not have put the text in the master. That was my mistake. But when you make a new page, you can tell it to duplicate an existing page. Okay, let me explain that a little more. So yeah, my mistake. Putting the text boxes in the master was a mistake. The logo's fine because that will be on every page. This line is fine; it'll be on every page. But the title, you're stuck, and yeah, that was a mistake. But what we can do though is copy that. So I copied the text boxes from the master. So I went back to the master, copied them, or cut them, sorry. Command X is cut them out of the master. And then went to page 1 and pasted them into that. Pasted them into page 1. So now they can be editable. But they're still taking the characteristics that I've already did, right? So then when I make a second page, I can make the second page from the first page. So it'll still, you can still copy these boxes onto another page. You just have to do it a little bit differently. So that was my mistake. So let's give it a page number. I know we're almost done here. What's that? Because they're stuck in the master. The master, things that are changing, you can't leave in the master. I forgot about that. My subtitle, my title here, and my text box should not have been in the master because they're stuck. You can't adjust them in a page, yes. So only the things that are not changeable should be in the master, like your logo or the page number or this line. So how I fixed that again was I cut my boxes out of the master and I put it into my page one. And then so let's put some text in there. Remember the text, whatever. Some text, some text, some text, whatever. So I'm done with page one and I want to make a page two. Done with page one, I want to make a page two. So if you come over here to the page window over here in the page window, I can make a new page by right-clicking on it and say insert pages. Hold on, I have to think about this from the master, but I want to keep the formatting. I'm going to duplicate spread. There we go. It's under duplicate. So to make page two, I would use under pages, I would say duplicate spread. And what that does is it will make an existing page a new page from the existing page that we already had. Remember page one was selected, right? So it made page two, and then I can if this one's a different name, we can call that a different name. And then add different content, and so on and so on. I don't know. Hopefully that gives you an introduction, right? Okay, we can go over it some more on Wednesday. I know I'm done talking.